Although small, its venomous barbs render this Pokemon dangerous. The female has smaller horns, the Pokedex, red and blue version. It's a new year, so let's start things off with an early game Gen 1 Pokemon. Nidoran female is not one of my favorites. It's a sort of generic rodent-looking Pokemon, and since she requires the Moonstone to evolve from Nidorina to Nidoqueen, I don't find myself playing with her too often. I've said before, and I'll say again, that I don't love the FOMO when it comes to stone evolutions. I understand the theatrical trade-off between Pokemon learning better moves at higher levels and being stronger earlier in the game. But it often leads to me grinding out less evolved Pokemon until I get tired of it and just abandon them. This is mitigated in later generations once TMs no longer get used up, but in those later generations, I'm usually focused on the newer Pokemon. Still, Nidoran female is a household name. She's available as early as Viridian City, and her evolutionary chain could theoretically show up much later in the game. In Yellow version, they made her learn Double Kick early in the game, which is key to defeating Brock, since you start with Pikachu, who is not very good against Rock and Ground type, and there aren't really a lot of other options for fighting or grass or water type Pokemon that early in the game. The choice to give Nidoran genders is also pretty interesting. It paved the way for all Pokemon to have genders in Gen 2, and for a handful of Pokemon to have evolutionary differences based on gender, whether getting a fully unique evolution like Vespiquen or just having cosmetic differences like Pyroar. The last thing I want to talk about is that little patch of grass between Viridian City and the Pokemon League. I guess it's Route 22. The first time I played through Red version, I blew right past this little side route and headed straight for Viridian Forest. So when in later playthroughs I stumbled upon it and found that I could catch Spearow, Nidoran, and possibly Mankey if I was playing Yellow version, not to mention one of the hardest battles in the entire game facing your rival and his Pidgey, even if it was only a few extra Pokemon available in the early game, the Pokemon on Route 22, including Nidoran, made it feel like there was still more to discover, even after I'd spent dozens of hours in my first playthrough. Until next time, always remember that you are the very best, like no one ever was.